You know, we've been talking a lot about the storms 1 week since the Pilger tornado, and it's not just up in the Northeast. We've had a lot of winds here in this area. I'm joined with Ron Seymour from the UNL Extension Office here in Adams County. How are our farmers and ranchers doing when it comes to crop damage?
Well, it depends, of course, on the extent. If you had significant hail event and it actually broke off plants or dropped all the leaves off them, then they may be looking at a pretty serious situation where they're going to have to reevaluate, and it's pretty late to plant another crop. They might, or the same crop. They may need to look at something like forage, sorghum or Sudan grass or something like that to at least get something. But early defoliation, a lot of times the plants can recover, and so it's just kind of a crop-by-crop evaluation and see how they're doing.
So if they were lucky enough and they just lost a few leaves, they're going to be okay?
Well, more than likely. And they're going to have to, they may be looking at some diseases later on that you really can't do a lot about. Fungicides that we apply for later in the year, those are for leaf diseases that really don't have a lot to do with damage now, but things like Goss's wilt or leaf smut, stalk rots, those things can affect, but we really can't do much about those kinds of things.
How are you seeing them kind of move forward, or what stage are people in right now?
Right now where we're seeing things like field corn is in the 10 to 11 leaf stage, and so a lot of it's kind of growing through it and getting past it. Our soybeans, are starting to bloom, and so it's the reproductive stages that we really have issues with. And but we are seeing some fields that are underwater, and those are pretty serious. They can stand 3 to 7 days of being flooded, and before they start to see some loss in yield. And the other thing to be concerned about is loss in nitrogen that could leach past the root zone, and people need to assess that. And if they have lost nitrogen, then they may need to apply some through the center pivot or something like that.
Now, it's not just farmers and ranchers that have been affected, it's also everyone. You hear everyone talking about the branches in their yards, and those came from trees that are damaged from the storm.
Right, so we had a lot of storm damage on trees, and if you have a branch that's broke off, you need to trim it off. And if you had like 1/3 of the bark stripped off of a branch, you should take it off too. Look and see whether your tree's branches have been weakened. If you have a tree trunk that you only have about half of it left, you should probably take the tree down. And
people hate to do that. I know, hate to do that,
but you don't want the tree to fall on somebody in subsequent years. And so, if you have to trim a branch off, you don't want to put any trunk dressing or wound dressing on it. Just let it go and never fertilize a tree after it's been damaged.
Okay, thank you for joining us today, Ron. Stay with us. We've got a look at your final forecast coming up next.